He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is the Alex Marlow Show.
All right, it is Liberation Day here in the United States of America, and Donald Trump is president. Yet again, I got proof. Check it out. Those of you who are, I'm only cutting it off just because I know so many of you listen and don't watch, but that is Donald Trump doing the Trump dance, doing his special dance while the Village People performed live at his rally yesterday that took place at, I think it's called the Capital One Center, whatever it is, whatever is the main basketball arena in Washington, D.C., where he had a big victory rally yesterday, and it was great. It was a delight to watch. Trump was being particularly adorable. It's kind of funny because I was thinking about his menacing photo, his official portrait. I brought this up on some of the live coverage that we had over at Salem, and I was thinking about how he took this portrait that is almost designed to menace people, and it feels like the whole point of it is to haunt you if you're a deep state agent, because, you know, it gets hung all over the place, gets hung wherever there are wherever there's a public building there or a federal government building, they're all going to see Trump's photo, and it's going to loom large over him throughout his entire administration. And he's almost glaring down at you, and he's cast in this light where there's a darkness to the photo, but the American flag lapel pin really pops out like he's a warrior, a guardian angel on behalf of America, here to rectify things that have gone wrong within the deep state. And then he's out there and he's doing, the Village People are up there, and he's doing the YMCA and he's doing his dance. It was sensational. It's a great day. It's a great occasion. And I'll say this before I get into a 99% of everything that's going on that is going great. I will say I'm really excited for our role at Breitbart News, and I think the role I'm going to have on the show in terms of trying to help the new people who have just discovered MAGA come around to the how we do things around here. And if you're new, welcome. We're kind of friendly. We're really fun. And but I will say that we do speak up when we feel like that you're out of line. And there's a few things that we believe very deeply. There's some people who are just learning that. My friend Vivek Ramaswamy might be the most obvious one, and more on him in a little bit. But it is noteworthy that this is a joyous occasion. Trump will not be perfect. He will do some things that frustrate us to some degree. He will not have a perfect policy on everything, but overall, he is the main character of not just 21st century America, but of the late 20th century of America as well. I think he's the most significant American now, at least since World War II, and you can make a case that goes beyond that as well. And we're in the middle of history. We're a part of history here at Breitbart News and the Alex Marlow Show. And I know many of my colleagues at Salem partake as well. Dr. Gorka going into the administration. So a lot of cool stuff that positions us in this unique moment. I want to spend most of the show today talking about his inaugural address. And we got a lot of clips of it, but I'm going to save those for the end because I only clipped from the end. But I want to go through some of the key moments and break some of them down that I thought were important. As you're hearing the show, Trump is president now. He's the 47th president of the United States. And he started off his speech, as he often does, by pointing out he's going to put America first. I think this is very big, that a lot of people are too critical of our country. A lot of people who lead our country think that the design is to put us in our place. Barack Obama famously said that he believes in American exceptionalism the same way as any country would believe their country's exceptional. That's not the spirit of our founding fathers and our national myth. We were blessed by God to have the group of people who are walking the earth in a very small region of the world, in America's mid-Atlantic to Northeast region, at the same time coming together, fighting at times, vigorously in the realm of ideas and coming up with the greatest scheme for a country in the history of mankind, as far as I can tell. It's endured to this point. We've had better days, but we could have great days ahead. And the call for America to flourish yet again is exactly right. It's the best way to start the speech. And then he got into a couple of big picture items that he wants our sovereignty to be restored. That, of course, is a reference to our border. And he wants the scales of justice to be rebalanced. He quickly got to the weaponization of the Justice Department, which will be a massive topic on the show for the next 6 months, because if we do not hold the deep state in the Department of Justice, if we do not hold the permanent political class, the bureaucrats in the Department of Justice accountable, then they will continue to wage lawfare against President Trump. This is not something that we can accept. It is not something that will allow us to flourish, as Trump said, because we'll be harassing each other over political purposes instead of collectively trying to come together to improve as a society and as a people. So Trump name checks that right away, noting that we don't protect law-abiding Americans, but we do protect criminal aliens. That's exactly right. Is we don't apply our laws to criminal aliens, but we apply our laws, we over-apply them in some cases to our political opponents. Just ask anyone in the who went through the J6 prosecutions or anything they got Trump on, because even the few things where they're coming after Trump where there may have been an iota of truth to it, they always over-prosecuted, they always attempted to overcharge, and they always tried to hold him to a standard that they didn't hold other American politicians. I will give example after example throughout the year, but I think everyone kind of broadly understands that to be the case. And this came up right away in Trump's speech. The next thing he does is he calls out public health system, saying that we were not ready for a disaster and our education system teaches us to hate ourselves. I love this talk. This is so clear-eyed. Trump is clearly understanding where our nation's problems lie. And a lot of it is with these core institutions. They're, of course, with the deep state. Of course, they're with the DOJ and the lawfare. But also that our children are raised to think America is a mediocre to bad place. When I was growing up, I was raised that America was a neutral place, that we're not particularly good or bad. We're not casting judgment. We're certainly not celebrating America, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about America's past. It's going to be nonstop slavery conversations. It's going to be nonstop discrimination, and we're going to spend 50 times more on that than any of the amazing innovations that we've had in terms of art, literature, in terms of technology, in terms of sports, in terms of space technology, anything like that that we have done better than anyone. Medicine, we're still the best place to do medicine on Earth. All of that, we're not going to spend any time on that, maybe a little bit here and there, maybe 5 minutes. And we're going to spend just weeks and weeks on end of the things we got wrong. How about our war fighters, the heroism, America keeping the world free from communism and fascism throughout the 20th century? We'll blow through that, and then we'll get back to all the stuff we got wrong. And that's not healthy. And there needs to be hell to pay for people who continue that. And Trump's now in a position to do something about it. He then noted that he was tested more than any president. This is correct. He has been tested more than any president. And he said, I was saved by God to make America great again. How powerful is that? It's hard to deny it. He walked me through it. It was the most powerful moment I got a chance to interview him one time since the assassination attempt. He was at Mar-a-Lago. And a lot of the interview, he was very tough. He was very busy. Even though he did give us an hour, he always does at least, and was a little more controlling of the flow of the interview than usual. Normally, he's very free form and willing to take all sorts of different questions. He was a little more controlling of the subject matter. But the real time I felt like he was opening up was when he was talking about the assassination attempt, and he went through the mechanics of how unlikely it was that bullet was going to miss his head and graze his ear. So when he talks about that chart, that immigration chart that he had to his right, it normally was on his left, it was on his right that day, and he turned to it, and the nature of the angle of his head, it was almost directly parallel to the bullet. It was parallel to the bullet's path. And that's why the bullet merely clipped his ear, and if his head had been turned a little bit in either direction, the bullet would have had a much more severe impact. It would have really connected with his skull, and that would have been that. That would have been the end of it. And we would have been stuck with Kamala Harris, and it just would have been the nation would not be the same. Our future would be completely different. It's how we thought of ourselves, all of that, unbelievable. So he said he's saved by the grace of God to make America great again is just hard to Hard to differ with a word of that. Striking stuff, he continues other big things. Then he launches into what I think was the most important and substantial part of his speech, and maybe the most substantial part of any speech he's ever given, where he launches into his executive orders and his plan. This is crucial because we love Trump at a 30,000-foot level. We love the idea of Trump. We love the way he communicates. We love his jokes. We love his dances. We love his classy family. All that stuff we know. But the one thing that we don't know is, will he be able to govern effectively? He governed fine his first term. He did some good things. Trump tax cuts were good. I think he did some very smart stuff during his fourth year, in particular, getting all those border regulations done. He did help us flourish economically to some degree with some deregulation. And I think he did ultimately put some good people in. All of it was good. I even don't think his pandemic response was that bad. I think it was fine. I think in the scheme of things, he made a lot of mistakes, in particular with those press conferences. But he did some things very, very well. And history will not give him credit for any of that. And I don't need to spend that much time there. But he can do better. And he can do better and cement things right away because he's got all this momentum. He's got momentum for a few reasons. One, survived the assassination attempt. Two, he's culturally the coolest figure of all time now. Everyone thinks he's the coolest guy. You could see it with performances. Snoop Dogg was out there. We had Nelly, Soulja Boy, Carrie Underwood sang, who is a country star who's incredibly mainstream. All these tech titans are on the stage. More on that in a second. So all of a sudden, Trump is one of the coolest guys around, about the coolest guy around. He never has to run for re-election again. So all he has to do is live up to his promises to the American people, and that's the best he can do. He doesn't need to be accountable at the same level to various coalitions and constituencies. He's just got to govern for the greater good, and that's it. He doesn't need to pander to any specific group to kind of keep some coalition going. Doesn't have to do any of that. So all he's got to do is keep his promises made, promises kept. I think they got to revive Steve Bannon's whiteboard that he had with all the promises written on it. They should get that going. But here's where he started. He said, first of all, we're going to create a national emergency at our border. This has many components to it. We're going to return illegal aliens right away. That's code for mass deportations. He doesn't say mass deportations. It's very clever. He's going to return illegal aliens right away. We're going to end catch and release. Of course, you end catch and release. This is one of the biggest tricks that we got. You come in and people figured out, you sign the guest book and you get released in the United States. It's completely illegitimate. If you're claiming asylum, you should have stopped in Mexico. There's no reason to come all the way to the United States. Mexico's got basically the same asylum rules. You should have stopped there. You don't need to come all the way up. And so you sign the guest book and get caught and released. We catch and release. We catch them and we release them. It's the most obvious policy, and yet Trump always describes it. So that has to go. All illegal entry will be halted. I take that to mean he's going to build a wall. He's going to start cutting people off. All that's great. Remain in Mexico is back. Troops will go to the border. That's huge. Cartels will be designated as a terrorist organization, something I think he should have done in the first term, something we talked about at Breitbart News. And what it does is it creates more legal options for Trump to deal with them. So that's why you do it. It makes certain tactics legal that you couldn't use both legally and militarily. It also creates obligations because if they're a terrorist organization, you are obliged to act. It becomes you can't negotiate as much with terrorists. We don't negotiate with terrorists, as the expression goes. So there's some complications. We'll flesh that out. I'll bring some guests in to talk about that, some of our Border and Cartel Chronicles people at Breitbart. But overall, it's a good thing. It's something I wanted last time, and he says he's doing it today. So he's going to eliminate foreign terror groups, foreign cartels operating within the United States. You can bet he's talking about MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, though MS-13, of course, originated in Los Angeles. It's sort of associated with El Salvador at this point, but actually it's a Los Angeles-based gang. Isn't that interesting? One of the historical tidbits I like to point out from time to time. All right, next up, he moves to trying to make America wealthy again. We're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to bring manufacturing back. We're going to tap that liquid gold to make us rich underneath our feet. Unbelievable, amazing. We love it. We love to see it. Next up, he says we're going to eliminate the Green New Deal. That's going to be tough to do because a lot of that was basically ratified in various Biden bills. So the Green New Deal was never going to pass. in toto because it was going to cost $100 trillion, literally $100 trillion. That's what was proposed and backed by Kamala Harris, by the way. It wasn't just AOC. Harris backed that version of the Green New Deal. That didn't make it through, but elements of it made it through other pieces of Biden's legislation. So Trump's going to have to unwind that as best he can. I don't know how he's going to do it exactly, but he says we're going to end EV mandates. We're going to build cars in America, and he's going to end anything that makes it more difficult to make cars and sell cars here. The next part, which I love, he's going to overhaul trade. And he had a brilliant line about how we're not going to tax Americans to make foreigners rich. We're going to tariff other countries to make Americans rich, I think was basically the exact line. So he's going to have the External Revenue Service, something I brought up on the broadcast, which I absolutely love this idea, the External Revenue Service. Why we only have an Internal Revenue Service where we try to extract more money from our taxpayers. We should be extracting money from foreign countries who have been largely fleecing us. He had an incredibly powerful section of the speech when he discussed the Panama Canal with some great history to it. He said, we built the Panama Canal. We lost 38,000 people in the process. I had no idea that was the number. I'm going to have to fact check that because that was an interesting education for me. I didn't realize it was that bad. And then we gave it to Panama, which was a mistake. And now China is basically taking it over. So China is operating it. So American ships are overcharged. And he's ending all that. So that's all good stuff, great stuff. All this is perfect, pitch perfect. Trump continues on. He announces DOGE, the Government Accountability Initiative, where he's going to try to cut key parts of the government. Vivek Ramaswamy was there behind Trump, which is interesting because all the reports are now that Vivek is getting kicked back out to Ohio. It really is unbelievable. He had the worst tweet in the history of Twitter, I think. To think about how he was, going to chair a massive organization that could do historical good with Elon Musk, and now he's getting sent back to Ohio, and he's probably going to have to run for governor there. And I don't know if he'll even be the front runner because of his ridiculous H-1B position. I was thinking about this a lot because the Vivek sort of having taken such a long time out, he was been off of Twitter, and now everyone just dunks on him when he comes back on. And his post about how, we should really be celebrating Urkel because Urkel is really cool, and we shouldn't celebrate, Zach Morris and AC Slater from Saved by the Bell because they're cool. It was so bad, but I was thinking about watching Trump's speech, and this will come up when I play the last 5 minutes. Trump thinks of America as a truly extraordinary place where the greatest people on earth live. And we are at our very best now. And our very best days are yet to come. We're a deeply ambitious nation with a frontier after frontier that we've conquered. We've done the impossible so many times. And then Vivek says we're actually in a mediocre age, and that's why we need to import Indians. It was never a good move. And the more I think about it, and I broke this down in the show, this is why I got to come up with the show number so you guys can hear my takedown of that tweet. But it really is something because he was flying really close to the sun, and now it looks like he's headed back to Ohio. So we'll see about that. Anyway, Trump announced he's going to bring free speech back to America. So I think the social media giants have internalized that. So we'll see how that goes. We'll be keeping a close eye on that. Law and order returning to cities. I don't know how he's going to enforce this because he doesn't always. It's harder. It's easier said than done at the city level to return law and order, but Trump has announced that he intends to do so. No socially engineering race and gender into all elements of society, Trump says. Society is going to be colorblind and merit-based, and the U.S. government's only going to recognize two genders. Yes, yes, yes. These are all concession layups, and that's why I say we have this opportunity that's truly historic because we're not going to have such an easy opportunity to run up the score where the left literally embraced that there's more than two genders. And they mainstreamed that point, and they censored you from the internet if you disagreed with it. They so overdid it with the wokeness. And this is the one time in American history where we're going to be able to have such a hard reset on this topic. We can just flat out say, A, we're going with science now. We're not going with your really strongly worded opinion and angry tweets. There's only two. That's what we're doing. We can't have an anti-science government, and that's what we're doing. Sorry if you don't like it. He's going to reinstate everyone in the armed forces who was forced to resign or fired for not getting the jab during the coronavirus. But here's the best part. He's going to give them full back pay, which I love. A amazing recruiting tool, shows them Trump has his back. If you don't think the next time he shows up at a Army-Navy game or whatever, it's going to be deafening levels of applause. And it's totally right. I will go through, I'm sure, at a lighter news moment, all of my thinking on the vaccines, which was not quite as bleak as some of the stuff you read on X. But I will tell you flat out, the vaccine mandates were a true disaster for this country. A huge usurpation of power, totally unnecessary, and particularly when it meant to weakening our military. When the people in our military were of an age and of a health level where they absolutely did not need to be getting it, we need to make this a teachable moment for the left and for the authoritarian nature that really runs courses through the veins of everyone on the left in all of the world. They have an authoritarian streak. Warriors will not be a part of a social experiment, Trump says. That's exactly right. And he also noted that his goal is to get us to not get us into wars. He wants to be a peacemaker and a unifier. It's completely true. Peace through strength. He took credit for the hostages getting released in Israel over the weekend, as he should have. He announced we're going to make the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. I love that. He's going to restore the name Mount McKinley to our tallest mountain, which is now known as Denali. Absurd. We're going to call it Mount McKinley again. And he connected McKinley to the Panama Canal, saying that he put a lot of things in place and made the Panama Canal possible. Then he went into that Panama Canal jag that I just discussed. So then he said that we're going to go to Mars, which is, I don't think we're going to Mars. I think this is Musk doing his P.T. Barnum thing. He makes me second guess it though, but I want to call like I see it with you guys fearlessly. I think it's not real that he wants to go to Mars. I think he does it to get attention, but he is so convincing. And I think that does get him attention. So I understand it, but I think that's him just doing his showman routine. And Musk does that, but he's got Trump on board. I just fear for Trump that it could turn into Biden's cancer moonshot, which was always absurd. Biden was never going to cure cancer. And as I always say, the doctors who treat cancer, which I talk to every single day, without fail, they don't even talk about it in those terms. In terms of it being cured, you can have cancer in total remission. You could have it where it's not a factor in your life. But it's not really discussed as a curable thing. It's just not even the right vocabulary. And yet Biden talked about that, which I made fun of him. And then as far as I can tell, we still have cancer. So his cancer moonshot was basically a way for his son-in-law to make money, as far as I can tell. Howard Krein, who is largely in charge of this, who is actually Biden's husband, seemed like that was mostly what it was about. So then he closes with a 5-minute section that is so good. I did want to play this. Just for the sake of time, because these shows, they go by so fast, and you guys know how much I love to break down speeches. Any of you who've been with me for a long time, a lot of you indulge me. Last week, I broke down Joe Biden's speech, his final speech. But this last 5 minutes, every word is perfect, and it's exactly what you want from your president. It is a joyful experience to listen to it. So I want to play this with minimal interruption. So let's just start right here.
Is the lifeblood of a great nation. And right now, our nation is more ambitious than any other. There's no nation like our nation. Americans are explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. The spirit of the frontier is written into our hearts. The call of the next great adventure resounds from within our souls.
So you guys see how this is anti-Ramaswamy's tweet, where we need more Urkel, we need more Whiplash, where the movie where the guy worked really hard being a drummer. And we don't need to be as cool. We need to be dorkier. It's very strange. It's the exact opposite. Is we need pioneers who are going to tackle the next frontier with a spirit of adventure. I mean, is that inspiring to all of you? I'm on a bunch of adventures right now, but I will say that you hear this and you think, am I being ambitious enough? All of you should be asking that. Because when you look at a life like Donald Trump's, where he had conquered the real estate world, he'd conquered the television world, he'd already been president, and he said, I'm not done conquering stuff. I'm going to have the biggest political comeback of all time, and I'm finally going to get my agenda through. If that doesn't make you feel like this deal we've got with God, where we get to be a human being, we get to walk this earth, and we have all this freedom because we're Americans, and we get to try our best and see where it takes us, and knowing the sky is the absolute limit for us. It makes you want to take advantage of it, doesn't you?
Our American ancestors turned a small group of colonies on the edge of a vast continent into a mighty republic of the most extraordinary citizens on earth. No one comes close. Americans pushed thousands of miles through a rugged land of untamed wilderness. They crossed deserts, scaled mountains, braved untold dangers, won the Wild West, ended slavery, rescued millions from tyranny, lifted billions from poverty, harnessed electricity, split the atom, launched mankind into the heavens, and put the universe of human knowledge into the palm of the human hand.
Is there a better summary of American greatness and American exceptionalism right there? All the stuff we did, Americans did all that. Very cool. I wonder what Ramaswamy was thinking. He was sitting there right there thinking, dang, man, that tweet was stupid. Sorry, I'm obsessed with it. It was just so tone deaf. That's what America's all about, that list right there. Us getting our little piece of that. All right, let's go on.
If we work together, there is nothing we cannot do and no dream we cannot achieve. Many people thought it was impossible for me to stage such a historic political comeback. But as you see today, here I am. The American people have spoken.
You see his demeanor. He's not overly joyful, but he's got a few really nice smiles. He had a moment after he got sworn in where he gave Melania a little kiss on the cheek, and he had this great smile. I've requested my team at Breitbart grab that photo so we could show it to you. But he means business now. And one of the themes of the speech that I'll say is that he called out all the bad guys right to their faces. They were all sitting there. Bush was there, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. All of them were there. And he beat them all, vanquished them all. They all got to watch him get sworn in and give this speech about all the stuff he's going to do with all the power he's got. Pretty unbelievable. Also, you could see behind the podium, and all this took place in Capitol Rotunda. Looked great, packed crowd. It looked a very, very impressive group. Families look great. JD's family looked great. Trump's family, of course, looked great as always. Stunning people. But it was noteworthy, all of these tech giants who were there. You can see Zuckerberg there. Zuckerberg was staring down Bezos' girlfriend's blouse. That was kind of funny. She was wearing a pretty revealing top, I have to admit, for a presidential inauguration. She can't help herself. Lauren Sanchez is her name. Didn't see a medallion. And it is Monday. It's supposed to be Medallion Monday. Sundar Pichai was there from Google, who I know as of a few months ago never talked to Trump, and then he's there. Google is arguably the most important company in the world, and our defense sector is largely dependent on it. I say this with great regret. I think it is a company that is basically pure evil. There's almost nothing good about Google, and we need Trump to help bring them around because they're just too powerful. They can't be defeated in the short term. They need to be coerced. They need to be coerced into stopping some of the horrible things that they're doing. So, including censoring Breitbart is first and foremost in my mind. But it goes way, way beyond that. We'll have plenty of time. But it's noteworthy that all of them were kissing the ring. And hearing Trump not just hanging out and wanting his butt kissed. Trump was there laying down the law. This is all the things that's going to go on. We're clearing out the deep state. We're clearing out the DOJ. We're shutting down all the illegal immigration. We're tapping all the energy sectors. We were going to stop teaching our children that America is not a great place. All of this is a throwdown of people who agree.
I stand before you now as proof that you should never believe that something is impossible to do. In America, the impossible is what we do best.
Very good.
From New York to Los Angeles, from Philadelphia to Phoenix, from Chicago to Miami, from Houston to right here in Washington, D.C., our country was forged and built by the generations of patriots who gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom.
All right, got some more.
They were farmers and soldiers, cowboys and factory workers, steel workers and coal miners, police officers and pioneers who pushed onward, marched forward, and let no obstacle defeat their spirit or their pride. Together they laid down the railroads, raised up the skyscrapers, built great highways, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and triumphed over every single challenge that they faced. After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help, we will restore America promise, and we will rebuild the nation that we love, and we love it so much. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. So to every parent who dreams for their child, and every child who dreams for their future, I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you. We are going to win like never before.
Honestly, if you play that for your family, that last minute right there, how would they not feel better about things? How would they not feel like that they can fulfill their promise? And that's what will get us on that ambitious plane that we want to be on. I never accomplished anything in my life that didn't take hard work, not a single thing. So how do we motivate people to put in that hard work? I'm not just talking hard work working for a corporation. I'm talking hard work in your personal life, hard work on your fitness, hard work on your health, hard work on your relationships, your relationship with God. None of it comes easy. All of it comes with hard work. So you got that to have that ambition and that belief that we can do the impossible. And who's a better exemplar of that than Donald Trump? He's the exact type of guy that you want to have be there in the Oval Office as our commander-in-chief. I got a little bit more, and then we'll do some more news.
In recent years, our nation has suffered greatly, but we are going to bring it back and make it great again, greater than ever before. We will be a nation like no other, full of compassion, courage, and exceptionalism. Our power will stop all wars and bring a new spirit of unity to a world that has been angry, violent, and totally unpredictable. America will be respected again and admired again, including by people of religion, faith, and goodwill. We will be proud.
Okay, so we're going to stop all wars, and we're going to be respected and admired again. That's the type of stuff Democrats had a monopoly on that sort of language, and now we're doing
prosperous. We will be proud. We will be strong, and we will win like never before. We will not be conquered. We will not be intimidated. We will not be broken, and we will not fail. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation. We will stand bravely.
So just note that the implication is that we're not free and sovereign right now. The implication that we are somehow beholden to globalist forces, that our open border is causing other nations to have control over us, probably our trade policy he's thinking of, maybe some of our other foreign entanglements that we haven't been able to extract ourselves from. He's got all that in mind right there, and he's going to reconsider all of it.
We will live proudly. We will dream boldly. And nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun. Thank you. God bless America. Thank you all. Thank you.
Sensational, sensational. Teach it in speech class. Beautiful writing. Got to figure out exactly exactly who did the writing there. I'll hunt that down. I'm sure it was a big group effort. Remarkable stuff. Winning is its own value. Winning is its own value, and Trump's got it. It is such a stark contrast to what the Democrats have done, elevating Joe Biden, a guy who is a creature of the establishment. The big news, right before, 20 minutes before the inauguration, Joe Biden announced preemptive pardons of his own family. Isn't that wild? 5 Biden crime family members. So James Biden, Sarah Jones Biden, Valerie Biden, John T. Owens, and Francis Frank Biden. I've written about most of them in Breaking Biden. I think I wrote about Sarah Biden. But who I guess is James's wife. Is that who it is? But I wrote extensively about the others. Frank Biden, as you guys know, if you've read my book, achieved almost nothing on his own. Everything was basically grifting off of Joe Biden's stature. And he would tout his connections to Joe in an ad for a law firm that he worked at, even though he's not even a lawyer. He had this education scam where there's this thing called Mavericks. It's a charter school where he was accused of illegally collecting tax dollars. He was kind of a mobbed up deal, to be honest, but still Frank saw himself flying around on private jets, enjoying high level access to the White House. And all along the way, none of these kids were getting educated. It was just completely criminal. I don't know why people stopped looking into it, but they won't now. I'll tell you that. Even though the pardon goes back to 2014, some of the Maverick stuff predates 2014. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. James Biden, his brother, got deals all over the world, building buildings and golf courses and country clubs in Iraq and stuff like that. He had a huge tax debt that he got bailed out by a Ukrainian oligarch, paid for that. So I don't know how that's legal. Ukrainian oligarch pays, I think it was $500,000 to your tax bill. And you're the brother of I think it was then vice president, then became the president. You think you might owe some favors to that Ukrainian oligarch? Think that's possible? And then lo and behold, Joe Biden goes all in with weapons to Ukraine over and over and over again. Valerie Biden, his sister, seems the love of his life, as Joe Biden has said. Joe can't tell if he loves her more or if he loves Jill more. He can't tell. He loves them both so much. Dr. Jill, she'll be missed. She'll really be missed. But Val bagged cash running Joe's campaigns forever. That's what she did. Oh, I forgot to mention Frank Biden killed the guy in his car, and Joe helped them cover it up. So Frank was operating a car. He was operating the stick shift while another guy drove, and they ran over a pedestrian. They killed him, orphaned his 2 daughters, and then Frank went on the lam and wouldn't pay what he was supposed to pay the family as a settlement. And Joe helped cover it up, even though Joe himself lost his first wife and daughter in a car crash. So Joe still helped his deadbeat brother cover up that crime. Or whatever it was a civil thing. So I don't know if you technically call it a crime, but the pedestrian died. So there you go. He preemptively pardoned General Milley, who believes in white rage, Anthony Fauci, and the January 6th committee members. And it just acknowledgement, all these people are criminals. They're all criminals. They're all corrupt. There's a huge abuse of presidential pardons. Fauci's interesting because we're probably better off not pursuing these people at a criminal level. And the fact that Biden had to pardon them is an admission of guilt to some degree. But Fauci, I would like to see prosecuted because he lied to the public and he got us to do things that were so absurd, where you go to Black Lives Matter rallies and you can go to liquor stores, but you couldn't go to churches, and people couldn't say goodbye to their grandparents and parents as they died in hospitals because of coronavirus. They would cap the amount of people could visit or how they could visit, letting people die alone. Unless you went to a Black Lives Matter. If you died at a Black Lives Matter riot, then you could die with a big group. And so all that was happening, and it just, all these kids who developed these mental health issues, drug addictions, people relapsing because we had the lockdowns, which were totally anti-science. Obviously, he lied about the masks. So I would have liked to have seen him charged. Not to mention the lab. He was involved in the Wuhan lab, and he covered that up. He allowed for the cover-up to take place. So that's a shame. That is a shame. I wish that happened. I wish that wouldn't have happened. Everyone's sharing this clip online of Joe Biden saying he wouldn't have done any of these sorts of pardons. Let me play this for you.
President Trump is reportedly considering a wave of preemptive pardons. Does this concern you? All these preemptive pardons?
Well, it concerns me in terms of what kind of precedent it sets and how the rest of the world looks at us as a nation of laws and justice. You're not going to see in our administration that kind of approach to pardons, nor are you going to see in our administration the approach to making policy by tweets. It's just going to be a totally different way in which we approach the justice system.
So that's how Joe Biden spent his transition period. That we're not going to be doing those types of pardons. Well, he did them. He did them more than he abused the privilege more than anyone we've ever seen in American history. So, all right, amazing stuff. I will give Biden credit. He said when Trump came up to him you could see it when Trump went back to the White House before the inauguration, he said, "Welcome home." Very nice. That was classy of Biden. He can summon it. I played, that's one of the reasons why I played that whole speech last week, is that his Statue of Liberty section was terrific. And then the rest of the speech was horrible. So Kamala can't have a terrific moment. A lot of people can't. I don't think Obama can have a terrific moment. Biden has it in him. He just goes off into outer space. So, but noteworthy, he said specifically, we won't be doing preemptive pardons, and then he did it. But who cares? He's done. His whole life, all the things that Joe Biden, all the things he did, all the things he worked for, he wanted to be president his whole life. But there's one last thing, as I noted in Breaking Biden, that he wanted to have a legacy. He thought of himself even bigger than the presidency itself. He spent his whole life wanting to be president since he was a boy, since before I could find records. There was hearsay that as a small child he was talking about being president. And coming from Scranton and Claymont, Delaware, goes all the way up to the top, and he's got nothing to hand anything off to. And Donald Trump is just going to start dismantling all the stuff he did, and he'll be remembered as the guy who gave Trump a little bit of a breather between his two administrations. So can you remember any of Joe Biden's accomplishments? The Bidenflation, that's what it's going to be. Maybe some border stuff, nothing else. And all these pardons probably. Pretty awesome. Looking forward to the lawfare. We're gonna stick that on him. We're gonna stick that on him. I make that my mission. Fetterman showed up at the inauguration in a hoodie and shorts. It was unbelievable. It was 20 degrees with wind chill in the teens, and he's in shorts and a hoodie. There is something deeply wrong with that guy, but I can't help but love it. I mean, I wish he wouldn't dress like a slob. Like, I don't think it's a great look, but you know what? So long as he's a Democrat, I can tolerate it. In shorts, it's in the teens. It reminds me of when I was a boy. I don't remember putting on pants until I think I was 12. I think that was the first time, maybe 11. But I don't remember ever wearing pants. It was in Southern California, so I have that advantage. But I could barely understand. I could barely fathom that it's cold, put on pants. No, if it's cold, you just wait for it to warm up. I will plug at Breitbart News. We have an amazing fashion notes from John Binder. John Binder is off for a while on paternity leave for us at Breitbart, but he's back to write about Melania Trump as the epitome of American luxury. And he breaks down her outfit. So I would highly recommend that you go check that out. There's some protests gathering around. A lot of them are sort of Hamas related. It seems very weak. A couple notes of complaints. I'll complain a little bit. We're 40 minutes in the show, so I can complain a couple things. First of all, Trump restored TikTok, which is, I'm nervous about this. He spoke about this at his rally at the Capital One Center, whatever it's called, yesterday. And he only talked about how well Trump used TikTok to win the election. Not that it's Chinese spy app, not that it's controlled by the Chinese government, not that they're harvesting data, they're distracting us, they're creating huge levels of depression, addiction, we have no attention span. If we're going to be an ambitious nation, we can't be hooked on TikTok, I'll tell you that. That is anathema to being an ambitious nation, is just sitting there scrolling on your phone, put a barf emoji, heart emoji, looking at reels. That's just a huge waste of time. All right, so I got a really interesting email from listener Sky King, who says he was super interested in Priority Gold, and he should be, because now it's perfect time to buy gold. There's a lot of volatility going on. It's going to take a while for Trump to implement all of his policies. And one of the best ways to protect your wealth is with gold, specifically with priority gold. And I told you guys that I'm not going to bring advertisers to the show that I don't fully back and think are doing terrific work. Priority Gold is one of those groups. We worked with them for years at Breitbart before they joined this show. And he asked me, when you give out a number, what does that mean? Freedom at 24999. It's this simple. You take out your phone, you send the text message, type in the word freedom, and the number is 24999. You don't need 7 numbers. You don't need 10 numbers. You don't need a country code. All you need to do is text freedom to 24999, and Priority Gold is going to send you a free wealth preservation guide. It's going to help you shield your savings. And even though Trump is going to be able to reverse a lot of the bad stuff Joe Biden's done, it won't be all of it, and it will not happen overnight. So now is the time to lock in. Let's diversify your wealth. You've got options to do things like gold IRAs, which are really smart to do in terms of tax purposes. And they've got all sorts of information once you go over there. You go to PriorityGold.com, and you'll learn so much about why gold is a great place to invest. These guys are good. They help me out a lot. Incredibly communicative people. They want to help you do the smartest things with your money. I genuinely believe that. So you text freedom to 24999. If you can't handle that, go to PriorityGold.com, and then you'll be supporting a couple of good causes. You'll be supporting yourself, and you'll be supporting the show. Can't thank you enough. Check them out. But Trump won it back, and I don't think that the TikTok voters, I mean, they're still. I have an acquaintance who's a online influencer who loves TikTok, and I saw his social media today. He was taking some shots at Trump, even though his lifeline financially was restored by Trump. So we got to be on TikTok. And for me, it's not even adequate sell to American company. I don't trust it. So we'll see how that plays out. So I'm nervous there. Boyle thinks he's identified the guy who's behind the TikTok push to save TikTok, and he's connected him to Paul Ryan. So we'll see if that pans out. But that's what we're covering over at Breitbart. The fact that the cabinet, we've only got a couple of confirmations done, or I think Rubio got confirmed today, maybe John Ratcliffe, but I want to see votes on Hegseth. I want to see votes on, we haven't even had a hearing for Kash Patel. There's some stuff going on here. We haven't had any hearings on Gabbard. We need these people in the job today, and they're not there. So I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if it's the Democrats. I don't know if it's the Senate. We've got to move. All right, here's a positive one I overlooked. Trump's going to save the whales. He's going to end disastrous offshore wind farms. Yeah, we track this. Breitbart is very good on this. Frances Martel has taken this upon herself. She does a great job of tracking this for us at Breitbart. But the offshore wind farms are devastating towards whale populations. They, I think, create some sort of level of the sound waves that interferes with them, and then it kills them all. And not worth it for me for wind energy. If you're going to do wind, it's got to be a super discreet place where we don't ever see it. It's very ugly and kills the whales. I'm not into things that are ugly. I'm not into things that kill the whales. That's just me. I can't speak for all of you, but that's just me. All right. We've got, Peter Schweizer's given us an exclusive on Biden. We've never had such a self-serving and corrupt president. Totally true. Peter's research it doesn't surpass mine, but it certainly predated mine, and my research would not have been possible without his. He laid the tracks for a lot of the work I was able to continue on Breaking Biden. What can I say, ladies and gentlemen? A huge day of vindication for MAGA, for America, for me personally, for you in the Breitbart, the Salem, the Alex Marlow audience. It's a great occasion. We've got to be vigilant. We've got to, I think, keep that fighting spirit to make sure that we are the ones who are the keepers of the flame when it comes to America First values. We're going to have headwinds along the way, but today is a huge day for celebration. It was a historic speech, a wonderful group of people who will be presiding over the country over the next 4 years, and it is our job to thrive in that time. This is a historic opportunity. Let's make the most of things starting today. Aloha at alexmarlow.com if you'd like to correspond with me. Any questions, comments, priorities you think that the president should have. I will I have a bunch of email piled up, but I don't want to go long. There's no reason because we've got A lot of shows. Exciting news week. We'll get more details on these initial executive orders coming up. It is going to be a feast of terms of content for us, and I'll bring it all to you on the show. If you did not check it out, my interview with Senator Sheehy from Friday has gone to a huge level of virality online, just huge view count over there on YouTube, Rumble, etc. Go over there at Breitbart.com. You can find clips as well. If you're interested in that, I would highly recommend it. Very bright mind, luminary, and young, high-energy warrior. Those are the type of people we need, and hopefully those are going to be the type of people that either you are or you will inspire. All right, that is today's show, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Thanks to producer Misty, and we'll see you then.